Hello and welcome everybody to Man's Model Moments Midweek Model Meet. And I can see quite a lot of people in chat. Firstly, though, before I get started, a bit of a disclaimer. So StreamYard has crashed my PC 3 times already today. Did crash it the other day as well. Some sort of weird thing with the camera and some incompatibility. Keeps resetting my graphics drivers. It's really, I keep saying I've got to get rid of StreamYard, but oh my God, it's now got to the point where it's actively interfering with my system. So yeah, here we go. Anyway, so that disclaimer aside, welcome everybody. Now I'm going to make a slight departure from normal here, in that given that I don't know the situation with StreamYard, how stable it is, whether it's going to screw up in terms of the camera and crash everything, I don't know. So I'm not going to call out people in the chat and say hello and welcome everybody. I will merely say welcome to everybody. And it's great to see you all. I can see some very familiar names in chat, so great to see you all. But I don't want to kind of, I know we talk a lot, or I say we, using the royal we, I talk a lot normally. Often it's 20-25 minutes before we actually get into the unboxing. So just going through all of that. So I'm going to skip that this evening. So apologies for not calling out people by name, but I have seen you. And welcome to everybody. Great to see everybody. Kind of going along with the line of community that I was talking about yesterday in my Tuesday talk. And thanks for all of your comments on that. I think it's really good. Some really good feedback, some really interesting things that have been brought up. So I really enjoyed reading those. And if you've not seen the video, please do go check it out and put your thoughts and comments in that, because I really do enjoy reading those. Couple of little things before we get started. A couple of sneak peeks, actually. Of course, cheers, everybody. This is Hobgoblin tonight, which is rather nice. Let's get rid of the keyboard. And then I can basically swap you over to the other screen, and we can get right into it. Really good feedback, by the way, on the poll for the unboxings. We had a very clear winner. Unfortunately, because StreamYard keeps screwing up and keeps resetting my drivers, I can't dual screen at the moment. Because I have to re-download the drivers, the AMD drivers, even though it's there. Some weird thing. I've already sent a bug report. But basically, we had a very clear winner for the unboxing. And in fact, the first 2, 4, 5 positions were separated from the others by a good 3 points. So the first thing we'll be taking a look at, by a long way, the winner is the RAF Rescue Launch. So it's got 52 points, which is pretty amazing. 11 people put this as their first choice, 2 as their second, and 1 as the third. So that's pretty impressive. We then have the Wehrmacht self-propelled AA vehicles. That comes in with 39.5 points. Then we've got the Folland Gnat with 36.5 points, narrowly beating. I can't quite reach it; it's too big. With 36 points, the fire trucks of Ukraine. So, and if we do get beyond that, it's actually the Star Wars speeder bike with 35 points. So it was a clear winner with the rescue launch. And then, 4.5 points separated the next 4? So a bit of a cluster, and then they were 3 points clear of the rest of the pack. So really good to see that engagement, and I will be cracking on with that very soon. Before we do that, and this is at the point where the stream could now end. So let me swap camera. Oh, no, it didn't end. Excellent. And let's take out the green screen. Because I want, of course, CCC, QQQ, if you have comment or question. Of course, comment or question in capitals will also do. But I have the Jaguar GR1. Now, of course, airfix released this, and this is, I mentioned I'll be putting a video out on this, because this isn't a GR1, this is a Jaguar A in the box, although they don't actually give you the parts for a Jaguar A, they give you the fuselage for a Jaguar A and the parts for a GR1, so actually it's a bit of a hybrid. So what I did is I made it a GR1. So as you can see, I've converted this, so this is now a GR1, as it should be, and that's what the video is going to be on. But as part of that, I wanted this, so I wanted to do it flying rather than, put all the undercarriage out. And so as part of that, I made this little stand. So I kind of want to have this, and you'll see it on the video. So this holds it, and essentially it's going to hold it so that it's much like, oh, it doesn't reverse it. So much like on here, for a low-level bombing run, I thought I'd do this. So this actually holds this as an angle. So so you can see, it's got a little sort of cradle, I guess, that holds it at an angle, and then obviously this is going to be hidden by some trees and bushes, so it'll look like it's flying. So a bit of a sneak peek there of what the video is going to be on, but I show you how to convert what airfix gives you into what it should be, the GR1. So not sure whether that'll be out tomorrow or it might be out a little bit later. But you've seen it first here. It's not actually that difficult. So anyway, I want to just make sure I'm capturing questions and comments here. So let me just grab those. So Simon says, what would you use instead of StreamYard? So for these streams, I'd probably use OBS. So OBS works directly with YouTube, so I can do that without any issues. I don't think there'll be any issues there. I've just not actually tried it. The thing with StreamYard is it's easy to use and you can invite people to join you, whereas OBS, it's a little bit more difficult. So yeah, I would probably be using OBS. Brian says, I'm doing the rescue boat myself, and apologies. So this camera is actually it's attached to my bench. So when I'm doing this, it does wobble the camera. So apologies for that. I'll try not to do it. Also, it auto focuses. Now, if I'm using OBS, hopefully I can stop it doing that. Brian says, I'm doing the rescue boat myself. It shows its age in terms of detail and could really do with a rigging diagram. Looking on that, I can't find any two examples that are the same. Interesting. And Julian says, I think the RF launch lends itself well to a diorama, say, including a crashed aircraft and pilot in the water. Yeah, that's probably true, Julian. Probably true. Right. I've not actually had a look at this. So let's go ahead. It's even still sealed. Look. How about that? The first thing I will say about this is the box is crap. It's that really cheap, thin, garbage box. The Sea Fury uses it as well. It's got no stability at all. It's not even. I mean, just let me put this on top again so I can turn this upside down. It's not even folded properly. Look, there's no hard edge to that fold. It's just bent round. That's anyway. It's a small point, but we'll see if that's made any difference to the actual components. Everything in one bag, of course, because it's a vintage classic. We'll come back to that. The instructions, take a look at those in a second. Decals. They look pretty nice. And that's what you would expect. Cartograph, obviously. Really good print density. They look good. And then we have a painting diagram. If I can open it. Okay. Interesting. So we've got two different schemes, 130 and 156. They look pretty much the same, apart from 156 has a grey top, whereas this has this unpleasant matte pale yellow. I think I'm just drawn more to this. It also has the nice chevrons on it, so I think I might be doing that one. When's that from? 1941, and that's 1944. Instructions. Now, with most vintage classics, they just give you the old instructions, but in the new format, and that appears to be more or less the case here. Looks like a pretty basic construction. I mean, that is about as basic as you're going to get for an internal piece. And these, just two halves of a transparency on this little tube. It's going to be pretty basic. It's a vintage classic. We know what to expect, right? Is it a Bofors? It's probably a Bofors, right? So, I mean, it looks fairly straightforward in the instructions. It looks like you get some. Are they crew? I'm guessing they're crew. And you do have kind of a rigging diagram, kind of. I mean, it's an illustration which sort of shows you where things go. There are differences, obviously, in this and where things are. Oh, I see. There's a Bofors on this one and not on that one. Okay, well, let's open this bag and see what we have inside this. I do have this in the shop. I don't think it's on the website, but I do have it in the shop. Right, so clear parts. One thing, I expected these to be a bit bigger. So they're quite small, actually, those turrets. But, So we have two frames which have the halves of the hull on, and then one which has the top. So Is that meant to be at that angle? I have no frame of reference to know whether this is supposed to be straight or angled. I presume it's supposed to be angled, because that, if not, that's a hell of a warp. But you've got a very basic stand. This actually looks quite nice. Actually, you've got some, if I can get this to focus, you have some nice little raised detail parts here. You know, you've got things like, I mean, this is obviously molded in, which looks like a some sort of mooring gaff or such like. But it's 72nd scale, so you know, some large nets or something molded in here. Which again, you know, it would be nice if those were separate, but this is a vintage classic. It's not like this has been retooled at all. So, but this is nice and clean, actually. The actual molding of this is quite impressive. And I suspect the new plastic has something to do with this. Again, it's pretty cleanly cast. I mean, it looks, all of that looks pretty decent. Now, these frames are a little bit more problematic because the half of the hull is only supported. I mean, this is a relatively delicate frame for such a large piece to be on, and it's only got 2 injection points, and they are quite small. That's about 4 millimeters across, and it's only touching on the edge there. So I would say what I'd recommend, and what I'm going to do now, is to cut these parts off basically straight away to stop them, you know, having any strain and ripping off there. And the same with this one, because I mean, this is fine, but you can feel this is trying to, this, you can feel the strain on it, you can feel it trying to come off. So okay, so there's our 2 hull halves. It's a complete hull. There's no sort of waterline option, but then you wouldn't really expect that with a 72nd scale. And that looks, again, it looks pretty clean. Now there is some flash at the end here, just on one of the holes, but not bad actually. I mean, this is very sharp, the mold here. Now I can't remember, and unfortunately, because I haven't got my second screen up, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than normal. Because normally I have all of this in a different screen, so I can just swap between them. Okay, so the RAF Rescue launch was first made in 1978. So this is a 1978 original tooling. As far as I know, it's had no new parts added to it. I think every single time it's been released, it's just had a new box. And in 2013, it had new decals. So again, this is as per the original tooling. It's not like got extra pieces. This is as it was in 1978. And I must say, it doesn't look bad at all. Obviously, kind of its time in terms of the way it's produced. You know, this frame is very 70s. The figures obviously are not really very dynamic, but they're not terrible. Let me get my vision things on. I mean, they don't really have faces. So yeah, they're not fantastic, but some of the detail here is a bit crude, but you know, and again, there is some flash around some of these smaller pieces. You can see here on this railing on the top, you can see the flash around it. A little bit on some of the ends here, but not too bad. Not too bad. These Lewis guns are pretty basic. We'll need some cleaning up. I'd be tempted to replace them. Likewise, you've got, you know, the drive shafts are a bit crude. Some of this detail is quite nice. This is nicely sculpted. The canvas cover over the dinghy, that's pretty nice. That effect is pretty good. That's nicely sculpted. That would paint up quite well. How much of it you'll see, I don't know, but I mean the small parts here, these little brackets and things, aren't bad. You know, they're not terribly oversized. It's a very basic kit. I mean, that's one thing I will say. You know, obviously there's no interior. It's just the basic form of the kit. Again, lots of Lewis guns here. These finer pieces all have flash on them that will need clean up along the seams. Cleanup or replacement. You know, these here again, you've got quite a lot of flash on these. Look. Bofors looks okay. Looks quite nice. So overall, it's not too bad. You know, the mount here, it's got some decent detail on it. So again, as a base kit for this subject, it's pretty good. The parts here are all quite well protected on this frame. The frame sort of connects through other pieces. This has a lot of stability. This does not. It's all over the place. Look, it's got 3 distinct sections. You got some nice little things there. I mean, these oars and stuff. We're out of sync. So that was just about Pablo's food. And obviously these turret pieces are just, you know, they're literally just cylinders. Likewise, the inside pieces of the cabin, you know, just have locating pins. For the transparency and for putting it together, they don't have anything on the inside. So there's no, not that you'll be able to see very much, but you're not intended to, right? So danger of some of these pieces getting damaged, but I mean, the pieces that could get damaged, you could replace quite easily. That's just a piece of rod, essentially. I don't think this would, I mean, this wouldn't take long to put together. I don't think. I mean, essentially, these 3 pieces, you are a long way through the build at that. Again, I just want to see. No, it definitely is. There is a. This is intentional. Okay, this isn't warped. A warpage of the parts. It's very odd though that these two pieces are so tenuously attached to the frames, when these, obviously this is one of the main injection runners, but apart from that, it's there's no chance you can wobble that on this piece. There's no danger of it ripping off. You couldn't have done that with these and not had these rip off. So overall, not bad. Not too bad, especially considering it is as is cast in the tooling itself. Let's see, will this focus? Come on, focus on this. Come on, camera. There we go. Airfix Products 1978. So, as per the original kit, this has not been changed. They've literally just injected more plastic into the molds, and that's it. Exactly as you would have had all those years ago. Let's have a look at the transparencies before we go any further. Yeah, this isn't as good. So I think one of the big leaps in technology has been the production of clear frames. I mean, this is fine for this kit, right? You're not going to see anything through these. Now, this plastic, the styrene that Airfix uses now, is a lot better than the original one. So it's a lot clearer, but the optical distortion through these is such that you can't see anything. I mean, I'm just looking at the edge of my finger through these little ones, and it's completely distorted. There's no chance of seeing anything in any realistic fashion through any of these. But then there isn't anything to see through them, so that's not really an issue. Now, of course, the main difficulty with these is going to be in painting the framing on these turrets. I mean, the turrets themselves are very crude and very badly optically distorted from all of the joining points. If I can get this to focus. So here they don't look bad, but if you turn it over, you can see. So these are attachment points, and when you actually look at it through here, you can't see it too badly on the camera. But for instance, here, this large, see how thick that appears? That is because of this joining edge here. So I think these are the weakest part of the kit. To be absolutely frank, it's going to I think it probably will detract quite heavily from the way it looks overall. I mean, especially, yeah, you can see it better here. Look, can you see? That is one of the attachment points for the Lewis guns, so that they can rotate up and down, because there's no real mechanism. It's just literally the gun has like a little peg which fits in this hole. So yeah, that looks ugly, and it is. It'll be difficult to kind of remedy that as well. Yeah, I think unless you've got something aftermarket, that's going to be a tough one. And I think that's fairly problematic, if you were going to do like a diorama or something with this, because they are quite you know, they are very prominent on this launch. So, you know, again, if you're doing it as a vintage classic, just to, you know, as a bit of nostalgia, it's fine, right? But if you were to actually want to make something of the kit kind of thing, I think they are going to be one of the big detractors. Because they are right in the middle of everything. You know, you have to make them early on as well. They sort of go in those little tubes. They look a bit like an Emperor Dalek. And then they go in these little cup things. So all of the nasty bits are plainly visible. Yeah. Well, they've added a bit here. For boats 127 and 156, open up all flashed over holes. What do they mean by flashed over holes? So they're giving you some, it's a bit there, but they're not really saying where the flashed over holes are. That's not exactly clear instruction. You know, here you've got for boat number 130, open up holes A only. For boat 127 and 156, open up all holes except A. Now that's very clear because they clearly said what A is. Whereas this, unless I'm being blind, I don't see anything. You know, it says A there, but that's just the option. You know, like here, A 127/156. It's not really saying where those flashed over holes are. Oops. It's very slidey, that plastic. Are they these ones? It would be nice if they actually pointed where the holes are supposed to be. Otherwise, you're going to have to go forward. To see if there is something that actually says where it is. A. Okay, so I presume I think maybe it's to put these on. I think maybe they're these ones, but that's not very clear at all. So there are, you know, there's still a few issues here. So I would advise examining these instructions very carefully all the way through before you decide what version you're going to do and then what you're actually going to put on here. Otherwise, you could end up in a bit of a sticky wicket. Anyway, quick drink. Any questions on the? I haven't looked at my comments. So let me just. Paul says, I have the IF launch, but waiting for someone to produce some PE or aftermarket to deal with the issues. Yeah, that's. I mean, those. Thing is, those main issues I see, you know, other than detail, obviously, a PE set would address some of the detail, right? These are more problematic, right? That's. That I'm not exactly sure how you deal with. I mean, you can carve off these pieces, but then you have to repolish the inside of those, and then you could use 3D printed gun mounts and stuff. That would address it, but that's a lot of work. So yeah. Scale Model Apprentice says, where do you folks in the UK get Atlantis models? They're repops of classic. So I can get Atlantis models. They're imported by a couple of companies in the UK, a couple of wholesalers. So then it's just down to individual shops whether they want to stock them or not. David Markey says, put the deck next to the hole, see if it fits. Yes, so as I showed before, it is an intentional curve. So it does actually fit pretty well. So it is not warped. It is a weird shape. It's weird. I've not seen a small boat with that kind of sort of profile. It goes down at the front and comes up, and then goes down and swoops towards the back. It's very, very organic, actually. So yeah, it was 1978. Covered that one. Let me just check. Yeah, I think 3D printing companies or STLs are probably the best where you're going to get new crew for this. And Adam's just listening while he's cracking on with his Mozzie, which looks very nice. For those of you who are members and are in the Discord channel, you will have seen Adam's pictures there. They're very nice. So, do you have 3 options? I only saw 2. What am I missing? So that's 130. That's option B. That's option A. So what's option C? A and B. Was C on here? No. Oh, no, there's only... Okay, 127 stroke 156. Okay. I see. 130 is option B, and then option A why did I say 127 or 127 or 156? I see. So we have 127 or 156. Gotcha. So it's really kind of 3 schemes. 2 versions, 3 schemes. Or 3 individual boats, I would say. I mean, I think it does what it says on the tin, right? It's a vintage classic of a rescue boat. I think it's not bad. From looking at it, obviously, putting it together might be a little bit different, but as I say, oh, okay. I just saw. So these sort of, cups are actually not cups, really. They are bearings around it. So again, that's not really representative of the real thing. So it's very much a product of its time, not really accurate. So I think as with some of the other vintage classics, there's two ways you can approach this. Right? You can either approach it from, I'm just going to build what is in this box and enjoy it for that. Or you can try and build this vehicle, the RAF Rescue Launch, using this kit as a base. And it is only going to be a base, because essentially you're going to have to replace these entire turret assemblies, I think, to get this anything like the actual looking actually like the subject. The rest of it, from what I mean, obviously I'm only looking at the art, but it doesn't look too bad, right? It's I think you can deal with the other issues, standard modeling issues. Those I think are going to be more problematic. If it were me, I think I'd actually do some research on this and see if there were ones where these were taken off and one of those. Duck the issue. So yeah, that's a good point, Darcy. It's definitely a while back. You can actually see it looking at the art. You can see they've represented it here. I've just never seen that before. But also, I mean, interestingly, the kit. Let's just compare the kit and the art a second. So just on that one point here, look. Here you have these, I don't know what they are, nets, I presume they're nets so that they can throw them down, like boarding nets, so that crew can, crew from like a downed aircraft can climb up onto the boat without, too much assistance. They're boarding aids, effectively. Not present on here. And you don't have the option of removing these. Well, you do have the option of removing these. You would have to cut all of this off and then fill it, because they are actually recessed in here. So, there are little points like that. Which again, if you're just building it, I don't think is an issue. But obviously, if you want to create something a little bit more, then again, that might be something that you look at. So I think my recommendation for this would be build it as a vintage classic. Just, take what's in the box and build it. Because sorting that out is going to be a bit of a pig. Yeah, Paul, exactly. So PE would deal with that. And unfortunately, I think it would need to be something like PE or 3D printing, because these are not easy shapes to recreate in. You could do it in wire, and solder them. But again, that's a lot of work. I would be tempted to go 3D printing. But again, 3D printing is not going to be able to do this glazing. 3D printing maybe with some clear resin. Yeah, I don't know. That's not an easy one, those. And obviously, if you were 3D printing, you could do all these Lewis guns and stuff and get really good prints on that. But then you are using just the base kit sort of as a framework. So I think those are the two ways you can go with this kit. The less painful way is going to be just making it and ignoring all the issues. So World War II Scale Models. Dave has gifted 5 Man's Model Moments memberships. Thank you, Dave. You are a gentleman. If you do get a gifted membership, please go to the pinned comment. I always say it's pinned. It's not pinned. It's members only post on YouTube, and that will give you the Discord link. Come and join us in Discord. That's where it's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Got a little community there. Great bunch of people. A lot of which are in tonight. Right, let's move on to an ICM kit, or I should really say a set of ICM kits, because this is actually 3 individual ICM kits in one box. So ICM are quite good at doing this, at releasing a number of their existing kits in one box for less than you would pay for the individual ones. Again, I haven't opened this at all, so it is all still sealed. So let's have a little look. Now, these also incorporate different things, right? Because this is a very recent tooling, the 37mm flat cannon, whereas these other ones are, I'll say older, but not old. They're like from the last few years of ICM's production, and they do them with and without the flat. A huge box as usual with ICM, and as usual it's full, and we have a lot of plastic in here. A lot of plastic. And then we have a lot of instructions as well. And the last thing, of course, is you have the paint sheet, which you always have in ICM kits of every size and shape. So let's put all of this plastic to one side a second. So you get 3 kits. So you get, this is a fairly recent release because it was obviously 2 centimeter. It's a Flak 38, not the 37mm. The 2 centimeter is a very recent tooling, 2025 tooling. The Truppen Luftschutzwagen is an existing half track that they've coupled with the 2 centimeter. So that you've also got, you can see actually here. So that is the Flak 38 decal sheet, and then this is the Einheitsfahrenhaus kit 35409, and together, see, there are a lot of parts in here you don't use. So basically this combines that standard kit, and then on the back basically they just threw a Flak 38. So you've got the 2 centimeter Flak 38. These are a reproduction of the Flak 38 instructions. I did a review on this kit, so I built this, so you can see that on the channel. And then you have this frame here, which has the Flak 38 on, and then obviously you can do it with the sides up or down as you wish. It was a cheap and simple solution to dealing with air defense, when they during the later part of the war, which also means that you get some nice camouflage schemes for it, of course. So you got a couple there. One in the nice three-tone camo, and then one in winter camo over the standard. And then the other two, both based on different four-wheel drive vehicles. So here you can see this one, the Stower KFZ4. And again, you've got various pieces which aren't used. So you get quite a lot of extras when you're making one of these kits from ICM in a different configuration. A lot of which are quite useful. So, you know, you get two of these, you get a couple of extra fuel cans, for instance, a couple of extra, one of those Mausers, I think, which are great for dioramas. So this, if you've built this kit before, you'll see this is fairly familiar. And then basically you've got a piece here for the AA mount. So those are those Mausers and the little carriage clips. Front page, and then you've got the dual MG34 Zwillingsockel 36. Actually, I didn't actually see that being made. I think that's because this is separate. It is indeed. So this is basically a set of instructions for making this dual mount. Actually, I'm not sure they are MG34s, are they? I think they're aircraft machine guns that are put into this assembly. Anyway, there's a couple of ways you can have them sort of stowed and deployed. Shows it there. And so this is exactly the same anti-aircraft mount, but this time on the KFZ 70, which I've also built. It's actually quite a nice little kit, the KFC 70. I've not built the 4. So ICM have quite a few of these, various trucks and transport pieces. Really good for dioramas because, of course, they're the less glamorous but much more utilized vehicles in war, or the transports and logistics vehicles. Let's see which one is that. I think that is the 4. I'm pretty sure that's the 4. That's the 4. Yeah, that's the 4. That's the 70. That is the half track. That is the flak. I won't do the flak because I've already got video of that on the channel. And I won't do the 70 for the same reason. Right. So put those out of the way. You have 2 of these twin mounted MGs. Let's take a look at one of those. So this is very typically ICM. You've got very, very delicate casting molding here. These MGs and all of the associated pieces, including the mount, which looks incredibly delicate. you know, with these little casting spurs. Come on, focus. So you have these little casting spurs to ensure that all of the pieces are filled properly. Nice sturdy spring to protect all of those delicate pieces. Don't see anything really in the way of splash. All looks nicely molded. You know, maybe a little bit just needs, you know, scraping around the edges. Some of these. Nice mounting piece. Got all the rivet detail at the bottom there. So nice little assembly for the twin machine guns. Let's say 2 of those, one for each of the light cars. So KFC 4. So this is the sort of vehicle that you could, I mean, this for a diorama or for several dioramas, you know, gives you a lot of options, because these kind of vehicles are the sort of things that appeared all the way through the war. You know, all of these are very easy to add to a unit to give it some basic air defense, right? And that became more and more important as the war went on. As we all know, move all of this paper out of the way. I mean, you get a considerable amount of documentation there. What did I just do with my knife? There we go. So it looks like there's some of the ICM vehicles, the larger vehicles, as I'm sure we will see on the half track, feature a chassis that you have to build up. The smaller vehicles, the cars, tend to have one piece lower chassis, which is nice, because making the truck ones I don't mind, because they're pretty big, they're pretty robust. These smaller ones I think are a little bit fiddly. So I mean, you saw that with Airfix's 1/48 scale, the Albion. That was a little bit fiddly doing it that way. Not too bad, but I prefer these single ones. So this looks like it's going to be pretty standard ICM kind of constructions. You've got some nice, you know, molded in detail rivets on the side of these mudguard pieces here. Got a full engine, of course. They always put a full engine in. Got a really nice folded, well, it's a soft top, so you know the cover there. That's really nice the way that's molded. And of course, you wouldn't have the cover up because this is an anti-aircraft car, so you don't really want to go around covering that up. Pieces of the engine here and drive shaft. Nice details. That looks like the oil, like the sump. The very basic, as they were, instrument panel. All looks very nice. It looks like you've got a couple of frames which are identical here for all of the wheels, which are plastic, which I'm very pleased to see. And it looks like you have slightly unusually a sort of front and sides and then a back piece, which just fills in the back there rather than a kind of tire and hub assembly. Your suspension pieces, that's one of the sets of handles for one of the petrol cans. Now, here we go, here's a petrol can. There's those Mausers with their little mounting clips. These are all suspension springs. And you've got the really tiny bits like the windscreen wiper. Another little fiddly bits, all, you know, very nicely molded, very delicate. All looks pretty nice. So this one, which is these are the extra pieces. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So this is the extra frame specifically for the anti-aircraft versions. You have a modified side here and the actual mounting plate itself. So if you weren't interested in the anti-aircraft bit and you bought this as a, you know, as a set with 3 kits, you don't have to make them all in the anti-aircraft configuration. You know, if you just wanted to have the couple of cars and then the anti-aircraft half track and then use the Zwilling mount somewhere else, and you know, all of that's entirely possible. They don't, ICM never scrimp on giving you pieces. They always give you extras rather than not enough, which is nice. So yeah, these are all the extra pieces, the replacement sides, the mounting plates, and little bits. This is what I'd call a fiddly bit sprue. So you've got really nice pieces for the engine here. This cooling fan for the radiator, for instance, really detailed, really nice. You won't see it, but really nice. Train of pulley wheels, exhaust pieces, some really nice things. The one thing I wish that ICM would do with these kits, which they don't, and I think would be a massive improvement in them, is they don't give you a door that automatically opens. You know, you have to cut these if you want to pose these open to show the engines. All of their kits have engines, but they don't have default ways of showing those, and I think that is a very small shortcoming. I mean, it's not like they are you know, robbing us somehow, but that would be a really nice thing to see. I mean, of course, all you need to do is actually cut it and do it yourself, but you know. And this, I think these are also extra pieces for the anti-aircraft mounting. They all seem to be just as nicely molded as all the other pieces, and of course in the standard ICM plastic, which you all know and love. That was quite a nice little kit. And it is, you know, it is quite a small kit, right? It's quite a small car. It's about yay big, right? For a 35th scale kit, that's not that big. And yet you're getting a lot of frames. I mean, there are more frames here, pretty much, than you had in that 1/72nd scale rescue launch, right? For something which is probably less than half the size. But very, very different kits, of course. Can't really directly compare them, but you do get a lot with ICM kits. Oh, and of course the clear frame. I mean, even in the cellophane, you can see how clear those transparencies are. I think ICM do superb transparent pieces. They really do. So I won't open those. That's interesting. Let's just stick with clear pieces, because these ones, in fact, you can probably see it without me. This is one thing, again, that I like about ICM's transparencies, is where the frames are, they obviously denote the frames, but they also texture them. So the molds aren't polished on the frames, which lets you paint them more easily. So it gives kind of a barrier between the frame and the actual transparent piece. Again, you can see how clear these are. There's no optical distortion to speak of through that at all. Really nice. So this, of course, is the half-track. Half-track truck. So straight away, I mean, just look at the molding on this. So this is, you can see the radiator grille, and you can see through that. That's injection molded. There is no flash between those. Let's see if we can get you a bit closer to that, so you can see that. Come on, focus. There you go. I mean, that is injection molding at its finest. Really, really good. We've also got some really nice pieces here, look, with the sort of wood grain and the marks from where pieces have gone. You know, where the grooves in the wood, where something, a door or something, has been moved over that. I'm not quite sure what those pieces are, but just the molding of that is really good. So, you know, you've all seen, well, I presume you guys have all seen ICM plastic before. I mean, this, I think this is one of the older kits in this set. And the reason I say that, just from looking at these, if I show you, if you get a modern ICM frame, it almost always has this, right? I think this is impressed on a different type of machine. So it injects, I believe, in those 4 points, right? So you get these round distribution pieces. Whereas here, it has a solid single point injection piece where this tool has been made. So I believe this is an older one. Let me just have a look at scale mates. Apologies when I just switch windows. And in fact, let me actually show you what I'm doing. Okay. ICM, AA. Oh, so it was a 2024 tool, the 2 centimeter flak. Wow, how time flies. There we go. Self-propelled guns of the Wehrmacht. Yeah, so this is the beast. So that's a 2010 original tool. Although obviously the half-track piece didn't come until 2012. And this is where you see Revell and Atelier have both used this tooling, or the plastic from ICM. I think that's the first time I've seen ICM using one of their kits. Revell use a lot of ICM plastic. Okay. So yeah, this is where, in fact, this isn't even when it came from. So that's 2012 when they introduced the half-track elements. And That's still the same cab. Yeah, I think it was here when they introduced this cab. 2023. So the chassis of this comes from 2012 or 2010. The half-track elements come from 2012, and then the cab comes from 2023, and the gun from 2024. So this is what I mean by I see I'm pretty good at using different elements, different parts of kits to create new subjects or iterations of subjects. So this is part of the oldest part of the kit, right? Because this is the old cab. So you're not actually using this cab at all. Which again, if you want to make this cab as kind of a rusted part of a vehicle in a diorama, you get all of that for nothing, I mean, I wonder how many pieces from this you're actually going to use. Probably most of this frame isn't used, right? So that's 2012, and the only reason I can tell is because of this injection point. This is also 2012, so this has the engine. Let's put that aside for a second. But you cannot tell. Okay, so 2012 is also when that airfix Type 45 destroyer was made, right? There are definitely more issues with the Type 45 than there are on this frame. I mean, this has incredibly delicate. Look, please. Come on, focus. Focus, please. Come on, focus. There we go. These incredibly delicate pedals here. There's zero flash on these. The casting of them, molding of them is, absolutely as it was. But this is what I meant about the larger vehicles. You see here, this is not part of the frame. This is part of the chassis here. And you've got other elements here. There's the instrument panel. Obviously, the engine. Again, they provide a full engine. Then we're moving now to, sorry, that was 2010, wasn't it? Not 20. This is 2012. These tracks. Again, just to give you, look at these tracks. Length and link, which is great, but they are really impressive. I'm really glad they didn't put rubber tracks in, because I hate those vinyl tracks, especially for something. Vinyl tracks do not replicate the way that these look at all. It really needs to be length and link like this, or individual link. An individual link for this, making a whole track of that would be a nightmare. So yeah, obviously, I think this is a later war design when they, started just focusing on economy. These just look like, the wheels are basically pressed steel discs with rubber, some spring shocks, but that's really nice. So we've moved a couple of years. You still can't tell that wasn't made like in the last couple of years. That's pretty good. Again, this is an older part of the kit, and again, really nice. Once again, I'm really pleased that these are plastic wheels and tires. Again, I don't think vinyl looks great in this sort of scale. Wood planking, or the back. That all looks very nice. Ah, and there we have it, right? This is the 2023 frame. And lo and behold, there we have the telltale sign. Oh, we've got a new instrument panel. Obviously, I think probably because the cab is a different size. You know, this very basic square cab, probably made out of, like the RSOs, they were made out of essentially like compressed paper and resin. It was like really cheap. Big radiator, windscreen wipers. So, you know, other than the design of this frame, you cannot really tell that these components are new ICM. And, you know, these range up to 15 years older. So I think anything really 2010 onwards with ICM is the same sort of quality. If you go back to like the late 90s, early 2000s, some of their stuff is a little bit ropey, like the MiG-29, the Ghosted Kiev kit that I've done on the channel. You know, is it's okay, but it's like an old Zvezda kit, you know. Whereas this is fantastic. You know? Lots of extra bits there. And again, you know, slightly different, slightly unusual, and very common subject to have in a late war World War II diorama. Right, let me have a little look back, because I definitely saw there were some comments and questions there that I missed. Alex, do you have the self-propelled AA guns in stock, and if so, how much are they? I don't have them in stock at the moment, but I certainly can get them. Send me a PM in Discord, Dave, and I'll get on that for you. Travis says the Germans did a few ad hoc AA mounts on airfields, like 20 millimeters from a 109 gondola on a homemade pivot mount. I wouldn't want to go. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Look at some of the stuff that's being made in Ukraine. Julian says, do they increase mold pressure when sprues have small pieces or lots of detail to ensure they're all correct? I think that ICM have their own injection molding machines, right? It's all done in-house. So I think their injection molding machines are just, they were purchased to do that sort of detail. So I don't know. I'm not an injection. I don't know the actual details of the technology. So I don't know what, you know, whether they have to do increased pressures and things. I don't think they do, though. And the reason that I say that is because if you look on this frame, and again, this is the oldest frame here, the 2010 frame. You have all these large parts. You also have pieces here, which are, that is slightly less than a millimeter wide and about a centimeter long. So those are perfectly formed, and you know, I can't imagine that they are going to increase the pressure for this piece compared to all the rest. The other way, I think, that shows that they don't change things specifically for small parts is this piece here. Because if you look at this, again, it comes out to probably just less than a millimeter at the tip here. What they typically do, you should be able to see there, is if they've got something like that, they'll put a little, I don't know what you call them, bobble, I would call it, but this little extra bit just to make sure that, you know, the plastic flows in here and goes into this to make sure that all the plastic gets in here, right? And you'll see these throughout the kit. So here, there's one there. You see them, a couple there. they're very common on ICM kits, and you'll see them on other manufacturers as well. But I think ICM use them more than I've seen in other manufacturers. But to me, airfix, they all do that sort of trick. The little bobbles from ICM kits, though, if you cut all of those off, are ideal. They're perfect for making sprue goo because they're really small, so they dissolve quickly. Right, so that's the AA guns. The next one is we're back to airfix, the Folland Gnat. No, just let me. Yeah, sorry, my keyboard is also not working well. Just to give you an idea, so that set of kits is about £70, Dave, for that, which of course is three kits. So. Okay, the Folland Gnat. I was really looking forward to this because I missed it the first time round. The Gnat is a tiny, well, from you guess from the name, right? It's a tiny little aircraft. The Gnat was actually the aircraft that the RAF Red Arrows was using when I was a kid. So not this version, not the trainer version. It was the standard one, I believe. Yeah, it's actually, was it a two-seater? I don't know. Anyway, so when this was announced that it's coming out, I was like, oh, great. I'd love to have a 48 scale one because then it will be a reasonable size because the 48 scale one is tiny. Now, again, for a Series 5 kit, right, the Sea Fury is the same here. I really dislike Airfix's boxes for these because they are just so, I don't know any other manufacturer that makes boxes as cheap as this for kits of this price range. If you think of an Edward kit, it is in a much stronger box than this. And again, at least this box has been more or less properly formed. But, it's the same issue, right? You can see it's been deformed just for having something sitting on it. So I wish they would change these. But it does seem to be very much driven by the old Hornby, cost thing. But let's face it, if they had a better box and were better at predicting the number of, forecasting the number of kits they were going to sell and didn't waste that, because what they do by over ordering, so now we've got, for instance, the Sabre, all the kits that you can pick up from Jadlam cheap, Airfix have overstocked. So we all have the option to buy these kits cheap, right? As retailers, I haven't because I know I'm going to be competing with everybody trying to dump cheap Airfix kits. So why would I want to be part of that? And I just don't think it's good business. If they didn't do that and didn't lose all that money on those, they could afford to spend a few pence more on a better box. Anyway, anti-Hornby rant over. Here is the Gnat. And I really like what Airfix is doing. A lot of what Airfix is doing is really good, right? The Gnat is an iconically British aircraft. I think Airfix are really good at bringing these British subjects. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a helicopter going over at present. Noisy bastards. it's just about good. Okay, so you get, you know, a pretty basic ejection seat. That's probably good enough for a lot of people. Also, this is a really nice thing, right? And I wish more manufacturers would do this. You have an option here for if you're going to use a pilot, and you have an option with included seat belts on if you're not. That is great. I love that. And of course, if you were going to use aftermarket, you would use the version for the pilot as well. Although, interestingly, do you get two of those? Because it's showing here one with and one without. I hope you get both. We'll have a look when we get into the part. So this looks fairly standard. I like the use of color that airfix do here with like the former pieces shown in a different color. That's all good. It looks like you have the option to have the front avionics bay open, which is nice. It also shows there really wasn't much in there. It's like somewhere to put your suitcase. It looks like you've got fairly decent instrument panels and stuff. I like the single piece wing because it did have quite an anhedron on the wing. Okay, so that all looks good. And then you have the A scheme, which is obviously number 4 training school, and B scheme central flying school. And obviously they're both red, and one is red and white and one is red and silver. Actually, that has silver undersides of the wings, white top. This one is silver and red. It's got to be the red, white, and silver one, right? That's the A scheme, I think, is more striking than the B scheme. But anyway, frictions look pretty good. Let's go on to the plastic. So yeah, it's about the same size as a 1/72nd scale normal aircraft, right? It's a dainty little thing, but you've got really nice detail in this kit. So the instrument panels are, come on, focus, give us some focus. Thank you. So you have some raised detail on the instrument panels. Not a huge amount, obviously, if you wanted to get aftermarket. You have that option. Oh, okay, good. You do have 2 with seat belts, 2 without, for the cushions on the ejection seats. That's good. You've got a bit of detail on the inside of the cockpit here. Nothing to write home about, but enough, I think, for a Mojo build. I think this is quite Mojo buildish. You've got some really nice, delicate pieces here. I mean, that loop on there, which is, I think this is the piece that goes in the upper part of the nose if you want to pose it open, is quite nice. These landing gear are really nicely detailed, really nicely formed. Nice crisp molding. There's no flash on here. Some fairly basic but decent engraving on all these side panels. Overall, that looks pretty nice. A lot of internal components here. So you've got the air intake ducts here. It's the main cockpit tub. These are the underwing fuel tank, or half of the underwing fuel tanks. These are all the pieces in the forward nose. So it's kind of solid state boxes. I was expecting a radar, but nope, no radar. So you got some ribbing on the inside. These are part of the undercarriage doors, obviously. These are parts of the ejection seats, I believe. And you do get a pilot. You get a pilot, and he's got separate arms that do appear to be actually trying to hold things. So he's not the best, but he's better than not having a pilot. So why is it always with airfix pilots, they always seem to have great big sink marks in their back? I don't know what that is, but so yeah, not bad. Although, you know, as a pilot, this would be fine down on the ground, but he's not wearing his oxygen mask. Pilots do not take their oxygen masks off. We're now flying. That's Hollywood for you. This is really nice. If I can show you with the light there, look at that panel lining is really nice. That's going to catch a wash really well. And again, I like the single piece forming part of the fuselage. It gets them at the right angle. There's no error there. And then you adding in these pieces underneath. That I think is, I'd much prefer that sort of arrangement than trying to glue wings in separately. You do have the front compressor blades for the engine. Whether you'll be able to see any of that through the intake, I don't know. And you do have the turbine exit. These tires are rather disappointingly marred. They are slightly flattened though, which is quite nice, but they do have ejector pin marks or something else on them. Can you see there how they are? See if I can show you a bit closer there. Turn that round. Yeah, can you see? They're going to need a little bit of cleanup, which is quite disappointing because these front ones are really nice. These hubs are good as well. So you're going to have to clean up these tires before putting these hubs in. Ejection seat pieces. So overall, it's quite nice. I think as a little mojo build kit, that isn't bad at all. You know, it's not too complex. If you wanted to add to this, if people do, you know, some sort of PE or resin or 3D printed upgrade set to super detail it, you know, it's got plenty of scope for that. It's a really good, you know, basis for that. Or if you just wanted to do it out of the box, I think it looks quite decent. So I'm actually quite looking forward to doing this. Not bad at all. And this landing gear, the landing gear strips are really nice. It also sits really close to the ground than that when it's when it's undercarriage around. And it has a nose up attitude as well. Quite a funny little thing. I don't know if they've got any pictures of it here. I don't think they do. No. They take the decals out. Oh, yeah, they did. I can't find the decals. Yeah, I know it's not the camera that the autofocus is the problem with Harry. It's StreamYard. If I use my camera normally without StreamYard, I can turn off the autofocus and it's absolutely fine. I can't do that on StreamYard, which is a real pain. So really nice transparencies here. The canopy here, it's crystal clear. You have two options, which so a lot of what Airfix are doing now, or let me rephrase that, a lot of what Airfix did back when they started these kits, kind of what makes what Airfix do now look bad by comparison, because here they give you two complete different options, right? A complete canopy for it being closed, a complete canopy for it being open. Plus you've got this little divider, you know, that's the internal piece in case somebody, you know, the canopy comes up, somebody ejects, it doesn't, the first person ejects it, it doesn't rip the guy behind him, their neck back or anything. But they can't give you a front transparency piece for the Wessex, which has with and without windscreen wipers. So this is really good. And then the decal sheet, of course, cartograph, which is great. Looks really nice. So you have, it's a really nice badge actually for the B scheme. So obviously you've got common decals, A scheme and B scheme. The B scheme, you've actually got silver backing on some of these. Now, let's take a quick look. So that's really pretty good, right? So if you look here, this is obviously the painted part of the aircraft. But what Airfix have done here is do the decal with the silver backing so that you don't have to mask that off separately. Now that is class, right? That is thinking about the modeler, because they could have just done it, you know, like these, and then you would have had to have masked off this piece to the right size, spray the red, and then take that off and then put your decal on. Whereas this, you don't have to. You can just put this on top of the red, which saves you a whole bunch of time and is, you know, a lot easier. Same with this on the underside. That's really neat. That's nice. That's I appreciate that. And especially as that's only one scheme. So if you don't use it, they've not, you know, you're not even used that. That is top-notch thought from Airfix, right? I wonder if they would do that now. Don't know. I wonder if they'd be allowed to do that now. Not sure. But that I really like. Looking forward to that. Okay. There's our fire trucks of Ukraine. Let me just go back and have a little look and see what comments I may or may not have missed. Okay. I think, oh, Julian's gone. I missed him, unfortunately. Yeah. So anybody who's watching who was subscribed or doesn't get notifications, YouTube is being an absolute arse. They say they, you know, are trying to promote smaller channels and stuff. It's all bullshit, obviously. But do check that you are still subscribed. Do check that you're getting notifications. I see it myself on the channels that I subscribe to. Just today, I have a channel that I subscribe to. Nothing to do with models. I don't subscribe to very many model channels. So this is one that we watch all the time, Maria and I. So we both watch it. And they published a new video. We didn't have any notification. Not only that, there wasn't a single one of their videos on our home screen. And there normally is. Or at least they used to be. I actually had to go into my subscriptions and scroll down and find the channel and then look at the videos. It's really bad. It's really throttling a lot of channels, and it's not just me that's saying it. It's not just small channels that's saying it. Big channels are saying it as well. It's across the board, and it's really bad. But I appreciate people subbing and watching the videos. So yeah, please do check that you are still subbed, that you do have notifications set. One trick that I have learned in the past month or so, when you get your home screen and there are a whole bunch of videos and you think, where the hell do these go? I was actually subscribed to a channel I've never watched before, and neither has Maria. We were subbed to a channel and it's of no interest. It was just like, I don't know, like Romanian dance or something like that. It wasn't, but it was that bizarre. And I was just like, what the hell am I getting notifications for these for? And it's just like, I'm subbed to the channel. It's like, why? So I actually had to go and unsub. But in the home screen where you have, and of course, that's one of the changes they've made, is there are only a few videos there now, where there used to be a lot more that you could see. So obviously, they're not showing as many videos. But if you go to those home ones, you can right click and you can basically say, don't show me this. I would advise everybody to go and do that with all of the crap that YouTube is showing you that you have no interest in, to make it show you less of that. So essentially, you have to go and train the algorithm now yourself. So they've really screwed it up. Anyway, rant over. I appreciate you subscribing, Harry. Good to see you. Oh, Mark, Mini Art Thunderbolt Mark II cockpit, including chipping, is done bar a wash. Looks lovely, average difficulty. The advanced engine, it's definitely advanced. Stopped, my head hurts. That would be much appreciated, Ryan. If there are kits that you're interested in, please do get in touch, because I have a whole bunch more in the shop than I actually have on the website itself. Plus, I can order stuff in. So I'm always ordering stuff from my suppliers, so it's not a hassle, unless they're airfix kits. Welcome, Sophie and Sammy. Not building tonight. This is an unboxing stream tonight. Mike says, just let you know, Alex, the Red Arrow Gnats were 2-seaters. Thank you, Mike. I only did a Red Arrows Gnat in 1/72nd scale, and it was so small I couldn't tell. So thank you for thank you for letting me know, updating me on that one. Right, let's have a look at this. I think this is probably going to be the last kit we're going to get, or kits, I should say, that we're going to get a look at today, because we've only got 15 minutes, and these are, as you can tell by the box, another couple of big, chunky ICM kits. I mean, look at the thickness of the box. Look at the girth. Greg, any plans on a Black Friday? No. So I don't do sales, like special offers and stuff. I basically sell my kits at the margins I can afford to sell them. All my kits are generally at least 10% off RRP, to be competitive with the internet and other sources. If I had a sale, I wouldn't make any money. That's the long and the short of it. So if I were to do a Black Friday sale, I'd have to buy Black Friday stock. So I'd have to do like Jad Lam are doing. buying like the cheap excess stock from Airfix and other manufacturers. And again, it's not really something I want to get into. I'd rather not be the bargain basement provider. I'd rather be a provider of good value kits. But I'd rather choose to have a good selection, provide advice, service, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, no Black Friday sale. So this kit, obviously, Fire Trucks of Ukraine, are two kits. Both of these have been sold before. Have they been sold as fire trucks? Let me see. Again, let me show you what I'm doing rather than doing it in secret. Share screen, scale mates, share. Fire Trucks of Ukraine. There we go. Fire Trucks of Ukraine. Okay, so one of them has been, and one of them you will recognize, I think, from this, the KAMAZ 4310, which, let me see. Is this beastie. Just let me. How do I swap around? There we go. Is this beast. So I did this on a private member stream, I think it was, or just a Sunday build stream a while ago. I might do another of those on Sunday. Watch this space. I might even use it to try out OBS. You never know. So that is basically the same kit as this, but obviously this has, if I go back to the other screen, this one. So basically it has some new parts. So it's the R2 hose fire truck on that KAMAZ 43 chassis. So some new parts on that. And then 2025, so that was the original one, KAMAZ. So parts that go back to 2016, the main chassis parts. And then they made new parts in when was that? New parts in 2023 for the fire engine, and then 2025 this year they brought it out as the military box truck version. So you can see there are differences between the military one in the cab. See, there's a single piece windscreen here. So those will be some of the differences here. You can see it's a two-part, probably maybe armored, not sure, and different structure on the back, etc. But that is the basis of this fire truck. So I won't go too much in depth on the AR2 because we are time limited, which I believe is this beast of a kit. So again, check out that Sunday stream if you want to see me build this. It is an enormous vehicle. It really is a quite incredible thing. And then, of course, you do get the specific decals for that. Again, ICM decals, I think, are as good as cartograph in terms of registration and color density, but they're not as easy to use. So cartograph decals, I think, are some of the easiest decals to use. They slide really nicely. These do not slide well. You have to use quite a lot of water to get them to where you want. But once they're on, or also once they're on, once you've dried them down, they don't come off. But you get them in the right place and they look fantastic. But the ease of use of ICM decals is not as good as cartograph. But the way they look is great. So what instead we will do is focus on this beast, because this is not a kit that I know really anything about. Just looking at ScaleMate. So again, let's just... Oh, that's another one. There we go. In fact, there we go. That's even better. See more of it there. So this kit, so this was a fire engine in 2020, but it actually goes back to 2014. So originally, so it's based on the ZIL 131, and you can see that very plainly from the cab. But obviously it has an extended and deepened cab. And again, look, there we go. Revell, stealing their plastic. But obviously much lengthened cab and then a completely different structure on the back. But it looks very Soviet, doesn't it? It kind of looks, I mean, it kind of looks American in a way to me. But it's sort of like the Soviet interpretation of an American truck. Okay, there's quite a lot of stuff in here as well. Massive tires. I think this is the sort of size that vinyl starts to make sense with tires. So 1/24th, or if you've got a massive 1/35th vehicle like this. But below that, I really don't like vinyl tires. Transparencies, as the others, you know, optical clarity on these is fantastic. Quite a lot of plastic. I've managed to get them. Get part of the sticky part of the bag off. Get rid of that. And again, should have the decals here. Again, really good registration, really good clarity, color density. They'll just be not as easy to use as cartograph decals. I mentioned it before with the half track. So the larger ICM kits, you always get the chassis build up. So they always start basically from building up from first principles, putting in the differential. You'll have full engine in here as well. Here we go, full engine, gearbox, all of the suspension. So you won't actually start building like the cab and stuff until what? Step 52. And then you start putting all of the front ZIL stuff together. All of the water stuff, the hosey bits, the pumps and everything. Yeah, it looks like this is going to, you know, it's a fairly involved build, this. I like the way that you've got this section at the back with all the pump and stuff that you can then open up or have closed. Great big, I presume that's for the, yeah. We've got the ladders on top. Presume this is for where they keep all the hose stuff. Don't know. Don't know anything about fire engines really. I presume that's a huge siren on the side. And paint scheme. It will certainly be something different in your collection. That will, won't it? Massive red truck. And yeah, there's a lot of plastic. Let's put these to one side. Get the individual pieces out. I mean, that is a massive cab. Again, you can tell these are the modern pieces because of this central, like, circular injection piece on the frame. Also, they do nice little things like this where they've cast this, and if you can actually see here, these are really small injection gates. See here, they're only about 2 millimeters wide. There's only the two for this entire piece, and they are only the thickness of the part itself. So the amount of distortion to the part is tiny. So you've only got those two pieces because this piece, that is just to protect it, right? There's no connection here at all. That doesn't connect on. There's no injection piece in there. It's separate in the mold. It is merely there to protect this piece from getting knocked when it's in the bag. We've also got really nice little tread pattern on here. Just see that. Maybe if I move it in the light. It's beefy. There's a beefy vehicle. I'm surprised actually it doesn't have the option to have the doors open. Most of these big trucks that I see them do. So these pieces are all of the rear main fire body. Some really nice detail on some of these pieces. Again, you've got a nice tread pattern. The tread plate here at the back. There's that piece that goes into all the pumping equipment. Now this is the frame with all of the engine pieces in. It's a massive engine. This is 35th scale. That is big. And here you've got the two long pieces for the chassis. And here you can see this is the stuff that goes back. So this is part of the main ZIL, the original ZIL truck. What was it, 2015, I think I said. And here you've got that central injection molding piece. So you can tell the slightly older age of the frame from that different appearance of this. But in terms of everything else, in terms of, I mentioned before about all of these little bubbles to ensure all of these pieces are cast properly. You can see those all over this frame. On all of the small parts, like here on this little piece, there's one there, there's one here. These pieces, really nice engraved and raised detail on a lot of these parts. There's no flash that I can see. You've got really nice protective pieces as well in ICM kits. Not just ICM kits, obviously others do it as well, but it's characteristic of a lot of these ICM frames where you have like steering wheels, or in this case, this is a little cooling radiator fan, which actually has little turned ends of the blades on this. It's a really nice piece, protected by this circular part of the sprue. There's a lot going on there. These kits are they're not kind of what I call a mojo build. You know, they're not the sort of kit like that Gnat that you could probably knock out in a weekend. These are more involved. These are more substantial. This is, you know, a good project, I would say, these kind of kits. Again, you can see this is the frame for specifically for fire engine pieces, and you can see it's one of the newer types. Got a lot of ladder pieces. That's a long ladder. Really nice molding on these. Got like a little weird fire hook kind of thing here. That looks like the nozzle for the actual water jet for the fire engine. That looks like a battery. So this all looks pretty nice. Again, lots more of these little bobbles, little casting bobbles. If anybody knows what the correct term is, please do tell me so I'm not making a fool of myself calling them bobbles. And then the last frame here, again, I said it was very involved. Okay, you've got different chassis pieces, so I expect these might be new chassis pieces to replace those others. So those others are probably the original ZIL 131 ones, and these are the adapted ones. Because this also has, that's the pumping stuff for the water. You've got a new windscreen frame here. Covers for the headlights, or if not headlights, light clusters of some form. Those are frames for the seats. So there's a lot of, again, specific pieces here. So again, you're going to get a lot of pieces extra, and you've still got these little protective pieces, you know, to protect the suspension frames there. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting side. I probably won't do the Camas version of the fire engine because I'm already doing the box truck. But this, I think, looks quite interesting, and it looks very fire engine-y. The other one is kind of, it just looks like a box truck, right? It's a little bit less interesting, whereas this one has a very distinctive character about it. So I think this could be quite good. Okay. Let me quickly go back. Well, I'll do a couple of things. Let's see if I can swap my camera or if it's going to destroy everything. No, I can. And I'll put my background back on. And then I can quickly go back to some comments. And just make sure I've covered everything. Okay. So that was the Red Arrows Gnats. Mark has a question. I'd like to build the Tamiya G4 M1 model 11 kit number 61110. No one in the UK sells it, and I don't fancy gambling with a foreign import. Could you obtain one, and how much would it cost? The best thing to do is send me an email on that one, Mark, to the shop email address, or on Discord if you're on Discord, and I'll have a look into it. If nobody stocks the kit in the UK, it usually means it's out of production. It's the kit The Yamamoto and multiple figures. Okay, yeah. Send me a note on that so I can look into it properly. Because sometimes I do come across kits or have access to things that aren't generally available. But yeah, it is generally that they're out of production. I mean, I've sourced Tamiya kits for people that are out of production before successfully as well. So yeah, definitely send me a note. Okay. Question from Mike Orton. ICM kits look awesome. Are they generally meant for experienced modelers? Yes. So ICM sort of class themselves as an intermediate modeling company. So if you've done Tamiya kits, airfix kits and things, you want something a little bit more, with a little bit more stuff, but you don't want to quite go to like something like a mini art kit with 1,000 pieces. ICM are a good kind of middle ground for that. They provide kind of that next step up in terms of complexity of the kit, number of pieces like I've shown. They'll have a full engine. They'll have all of the suspension and the working gear and chassis and everything on a truck or a car. That other manufacturers might kind of gloss over a bit or simplify a lot, without going to making a seat from 28 pieces like Mini Art would. So yeah, they are, and it depends on the kit. Obviously, if you're getting a more basic ICM kit, it won't be quite as extensive as like the trucks I've shown today. So, for instance, those little cars. I mean, they're still 35th scale. They're still a reasonable size. The Hummer kit. If you check out the Hummer video, the ICM Hummers that I've done on the channel, those are quite nice. They're not too difficult. If you've done a few kits, you'll be easily able to do those, and then you can progress onto something a little bit more complex, one of their tanks or such. So yeah, I wouldn't jump straight in with like the Tahi, but yeah, they're generally meant for people who have they've got a few kits under their belt. Okay, just checking I've covered all of the comments. Scale Model Apprentice says, I'd like to see you review some Rodin kits and how they compare to ICM. Okay. Not sure I've ever done a Rodin kit. I think I've got a Rodin kit. I've just never got around to doing anything with it. Oh, Dutch Dave's in. Good to see you. People. Yeah, Marcus has been ill of late, and there's a lot of lurgy. Maria came back from Barcelona with some bug that she's coming out of it, but she's quite tired and stuff because it takes it out of you, right? Any illness, your immune system ramps up, produces a lot of immune cells and antibodies and stuff. That's all protein and lipids and stuff that's taking away from normal metabolism. So that's why you feel exhausted when you've had something like that, because it is exhausting you. It is taking material to fight the infection. So there are quite a few nasty things going around. So take care out there. And yeah, if anybody is ill, I wish you all the best and I hope you get well soon. But anyway, we've overrun a little while. Well, 15 minutes over our allotted time. Well, 10 minutes because 5 minutes was intro. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed those unboxings. I hope it showed you kind of the essence of the kits. And obviously, you can't see everything that I can see on the bench. It's a little bit difficult, especially with just webcams rather than the DSLR I use for videos. But I mean, the RAF Rescue launch, I think, as a vintage classic, it's fine. If you want to do something a little bit more involved, it's going to take some work. The airfix Gnat, I really like. I think that's quite a mojo build kit. I think it's got, you know, it's not too complex. It looks like it's got some good detail. You could probably throw some extra aftermarket at it in that cockpit because it's got a very large, visible, clear cockpit canopy. And the ICM kits, I think, are typical of ICM's productions of late. All really good. Lots of parts, lots to keep you, lots to get your teeth into. Look really nice. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them. The only one that I would put the caveat on would be the Rescue Launch, in that, it's a vintage classic. So if you just want to do it as vintage classic, you're not going to be disappointed. If you want to do something more out of it, you're going to have some work to put into it. But it doesn't look bad. It's aged well in terms of the actual tooling. There are no warped parts. There's not a lot of excessive flash. There's a little bit. So overall, not bad. So I think a good set of unboxings. Thank you for choosing them, everybody. I'll put up the new list a week or so ahead of the next set of unboxings. Next week, it will be the diorama build, I believe. We're back to that. And as I say, I'll probably have a pop-up stream on Sunday. So watch out for that. It'll pop up at some point. And of course, the GR1 will arrive shortly. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. And I wish you all the best. Get well soon if you are feeling under the weather. And I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers now.